Hello everyone, and welcome to one of Digital Transformation's live series episodes. I'm Ali Sufastai, an AI program leader in Valley. Our live interviews have been designed to develop the knowledge of applied data science and advanced analytics in different industries, aimed to touch Industry 4.0. These live sessions are held every week with the presence of one of the university professors, industrial managers, and experts in the field of industrial engineering and Industry 4.0 and digital transformation. Today, we will discuss the role of people in mining 4.0. And this is my honor to talk with my guest, Mr. Alvaro Diaz. Alvaro is INDIMIN CEO. He was responsible for product support digital strategy for mining, construction, and energy markets at Finning Latam. Since 2009, he has been pioneering in exporting and developing digital solutions linking IIoT, data analysis, and remote support of Latam, CA, and UK. Welcome, Alvaro, and thanks for accepting my invitation to be with us today.
Hi, Ali. Nice to see you again, and thanks for inviting me. It's my pleasure. Definitely, we can share a lot of stories and experience around this space.
Thanks, Alvaro. Let's talk about your background as a first question to get familiar with your history. What is the story that led you to your current role? What is your background?
Well, that's a great question to start this conversation. I was raised in the biggest driest desert in the world, the Atacama Desert, and I used to live there in the biggest open site that was existing by that time. But there was like 15,000 people living there. It was let's say a huge city for a mining company, and right now we have nothing. Everything disappeared. The people, the experts, the knowledge, everyone's just go and left behind a big hole in the earth, and that's where I come from. So it's one of my big motivations. So because when you start to think about your history, your own history, and what comes out next, you have to think about what's going to be your legacy. And one of the things that I realized is that even though there are big reserve of different, let's say, copper mines, and the Atacama Desert is very active around mining, we have there one of the poorest towns there near to that site right now in this present moment. So how we create knowledge, how we create a new legacy, and then how we can mix that with technology is definitely one of my passions there, and that's where I started from. And the second thing that you already mentioned is that I used to work for the biggest Caterpillar company in the world also, and I was in a very lucky moment because 15 years ago we started to try some industrial IIoT, devices, and we realized that there was like many data coming to somewhere in the world, but nobody was using it. So in some point we talked with the OEM and say, hey, how can we pick up this data and transform into something? And what we realized that there was a huge, I mean, we discovered the first API, let's say, at that moment to get data. And then we put some technicians and create the first remote center, like that was long ago. So that was like a mind-blowing moment for me. And then we mixed, I mean, that technologies, that big data that come from long ago, and also my own story to say, okay, how can we build something to crystallize knowledge and merge it with technology?
Beautiful, beautiful. So Alvaro, I know that your company name is INDIMIN, means innovation in digital mining. And I know that you have worked in this area for a long time. But nowadays, everybody, especially in mining and some big industry, and they're talking about mining 4.0 as a keyword. And they try to to say something behind that, but it's not clear for the general audience. As an expert who work in this area for a long time, what's the correct definition of mining 4.0?
Well, thanks for that question. I guess you can find different definitions, like from industrial 4.0 revolution, that kind of definitions. But I'm gonna just say my vision around this is like a more practical vision, and I guess is more about the right combination of culture plus technology
Mhm.
to add new sustainable value. So you can rephrase that about like the right mix of technology, cultural, and process change. Because sometimes when you talk about mining 4.0 right now, uh, many people believes that the technology is a solution, but it's a mix. It's a mix about what value can we create, what process can we transform, and it's about that correct mix that is evolving, is continuously evolving. So I guess that's the one of the things that I will um, highlight in that definition. And let me give you one example. Anytime that you put technology into the field, you can be accepted or rejected. You can go through technology push or technology pull, and that led us to think about what is the intention of this transformation. What is the intention of putting this technology into the field? So the real aim of mining 4.0 is transform things for a better state. And that definition is something that must deliver some real value into the field.
Awesome, awesome. Based on my understanding about your conversation, mining 4.0, it's not just the technology, it's not the system, it's not just the data or analytics. You are talking about the culture, and it's important because if we want to change any culture, for example in mining, we need to think about the multi-dimensional change. So it means that we are facing with a revolution, and definitely a main part of this revolution is a human. We know that in mining 4.0 we try to replace people with machine, or maybe using artificial intelligence more and more to improve our processes. But definitely one of the key parameter in this revolution is people. The next question that I have for you is exactly related to the topic of your conversation. What is the role of people in the future of mining, and why do you think their role is important?
Yeah, I think that's the core question of this conversation and this session. Well, we know that this is, or I mean, at least we have to think this as a journey, as a continuous
Mhm.
evolving journey. I mean, stage by stage. So our aim as humans here at first glance is like put vision into transforming something. Put your vision into transforming something. Put your experience into transforming something. Put your own history. Put your ethics into transform something that creates new value. So meanwhile you are doing that, you are discovering new things, and the thing that we as humans can make there is like tuning up and making a systematic vision, iterate and create some leadership to move changes. So that's one of the first things that I would mention in that space. So it's, uh, it's something that when you start to talk about specifically around AI, that's also a long journey. We all know that we have some very good achievements around narrow AI, some specific tasks. But when you think about general AI, more on the human kind of brain thinking, it is more systematic. So it's definitely it's going to be a merge between both things, but humans must lead the way to create new ethic value around applying AI, for example. And if you think about things like how we as human thinks, what is our role? We need to understand better the way we as human things. For example, 2013, Dr. David Rock, he creates the SCARF model. He's a famous neuroscience. So we as humans live in between two states, like rewards and threats, reward and threats all the time. So when we start to realize that we're going to merge technology for some purpose, and we have humans in the middle, or let's say leading the transformation, we need to go deeper and deeper into that kind of studies to make some real changes. So just in brief, I mean, I'm not going to go in depth into that definition, but humans need a status, need a status, recognition, feel good. Okay, so when we put technology, we have to stay clear around that. And it's about certainty. I mean, certainty is another real relevant thing that people need to wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to achieve this, some certainty. Then it comes to autonomy. I'm trying to describe this model of thinking about neuroscience, and you need to think that you can control the things that you are doing, and in a quick manner, you also have to relate to others in a social systems. So and when you are related with that, you need to think about how this system is fair to retrieving you the right information. So when we mix that kind of things and think about humans, we have to understand ourselves, the way we think, and how AI can help us and help to transform things with the different capabilities that we as humans have and AI have. So it's a big space that we can do a lot of things.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Alvaro. I think you mentioned many key points that we have in this revolution, specifically when we are talking about the old industry or traditional industry, same as mining. And we have a huge number of the people working in this industry, and they are worried about their, the job security. When we talk about digital transformation, or we want to talk about using robots or AI, but it's important to understand any revolution has some benefits, and also they have some challenges that we need to tackle with them. And one of the biggest challenge in digital transformation or mining 4.0 is people, and how we can adjust people with this new revolution. But as you mentioned, we are working and living in the era of weak AI or narrow AI. It means that the power of AI is completely limited these days. Definitely, we will go, or maybe a strong AI later, and the robots and algorithm can make the final decision. But till reaching to that point, we need to have people, and we need to train people, and we need to send this message to workers who are working in mining, for example. Technology is growing to help them, to coach them, to improve the efficiency and productivity and reduce the injuries and improve the safety. We don't develop technology to replace it with people. We try to help people. So this is a key message that we need to send to managers and to workers who are working in the industry. But let's talk about other aspects of digital transformation, because we talk about the people, but it's it's important for me as an individual to know How does digitalization make mining operations more efficient in different aspects? For example, for productivity, for energy efficiency, safety, or environmental protection. I ask this question because we need to pay the cost of digitalization. I want to see what would be the benefit, what would be the outcome of this investment in different areas.
Yeah, I think that's the game, is how we create value, how we discover value. So that lead us to think about is it's not about digitalization alone or digitalization itself. Is the way we look for value, and beyond that, I mean, is the way we define value in an ethical way.
Mhm.
For example, here in Latin America, we have some strikes in some mining sites, you know, and it's about not just producing and creating value for extracting some ore reserves. It's beyond that. So how we define value in an ethical way is I guess, one of the first things that we have to reframe around creating value with this new, I mean, big capabilities. So let me give you one example. A couple of years ago, we started a project with INDIMIN in Australia. We
Mhm.
collaborate with people there. And one of the things that we discovered, and reading a lot of papers, that was that around the grinding and crushing, you can consume between 2% to 4% of the global electricity. So think about just for a moment, if you can create a small change in that process, enabled by AI, is huge. The things that you can do. I mean, environmentally, and also in the process, within the process. So when you design this kind of outcomes, I mean, like I want to create uh, stability around the throughput, but also I want to create less energy consumption. You are thinking beyond just the production. I mean, it's a very simple manner to connect the way we need to create this. And let me give you one more example. A quick example is about 7 years ago, we started to implement some AI initiatives in mining here in Latin America. In one of the promises that we were looking for was like, we can enable something, 5%, 12%, something to your production, to your productivity. And at the end of the day, we reach it. But the journey to get there is something that we have to co-design with the mining sites. It's not a just one vision. It's a common vision that you must build.
So uh, I know that the digitalization or digital transformation can be used everywhere, and you mentioned one of the examples. Uh, but in mining, especially when you are talking about the mine value chain, we have many different types of operations uh, through the value chain or supply chain. But the key question here is that what are the mining industry's most significant areas for using digital solutions, and how can people help the digital transformation in mining? I wanted just to combine two questions together to know first, what's your idea about the significant area for digital solution? And the second one, I want to return to the concept of the discussion, the people. How can people help the digital transformation in mining?
Oh yes, well, I mean, that's a complex question because it's a complex thing to resolve. As we were talking, I mean, you need to have right now a social license to operate, and that's a complex thing to do because you have to manage with the communities. You have to manage in many aspects. So I think one of the big spaces that I think we will see in the near future, hopefully, will come from new sustainable initiatives where you think about more, let's say, circular digital solutions based on circular economy principles, where you think by design how we can create this new mining process, but in a new balance. So that in a big umbrella, that's one of the big things that we can create for the next future. And in a second thing, more in the operational, or let's say traditional, but not simple, is the space that we can see that mine to mill or mine to port or mine to market opportunities where you can find this value not just in a silo, specific silo, or a local optimum, where you can see a more global optimum. Definitely things like let's say for forecasting or the with using AI, the fragmentation can enable a lot of many values around the value mining chain.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, based on my understanding, is that the integration can be very important point for us because focusing on one specific area maybe can give us some benefits, but in overall, we are looking for having the general optimum that you mentioned, and not one specific optimization for one operation because any optimization in a specific area maybe can have side effect on upstream and downstream operations. Alvaro, I know that you completed many projects, sorry, in this area. Is there any chance to give us some examples of how a digital approach can practically solve the business and operation challenges in mining and clarify the role of the people in those successful use cases?
Yeah, definitely. Well, let me go back to that example of 2016, that one of the first
Mhm.
things that we did here in mining. By that time, we tackled that, I mean, problem that it was like shovel productivity. So there was a shovel operator in the middle of that process, and there was so managers, supervisors, and remote center trying to tackle down, let's say, wicked problem in some point that they cannot resolve after a long month trying different projects. So what's the role of people right there is for us as designers, as technology solutions designers, is the role to understand that this is not a technology um, challenge. It's more about human challenge. So one of the findings that we did, it was like the frustration within this shovel operator was huge.
Mhm.
12 years operating, doing the same thing, but not feeling recognized about their work. So the solution was co-designed with the shovel, with the supervisor, the instructors, and so on. So connecting the feedback to that specific people, a specific role, to make him or she feel acknowledged. The
Mhm.
right fit was, for example, this is your best grade through this last month, or congratulations, but you also can do better in this. So given more significance and showing up the value in a daily manner, mixing frustration, transforming into motivation, creating habits. Through technology, I mean, we designed finally was the smart mining coach, a coach that it was digitally enabling new
Mhm.
habits in a more, let's say, more happy state of working. That's a specific case, and by the end of that project, we reach up numbers like 7 to 11% of increasing productivity for the whole process. So that was very a good project.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks a lot, Alvaro, for this example. That's completely clear how the people can help uh, to reach to the successful use cases or a project. So let's talk about. I want to ask a little personal question for you, because I know that you are working with the new technologies and maybe new gadgets, new applications in this area. But my question for you is that what are some of the new digital technologies or maybe innovations, because your company is based on innovation, that you are particularly excited about?
Well, that's I mean, the technology is always moving fast, and
Mhm.
I guess our driver, I mean, as INDIMIN and personally, uh, rather than the technology itself, is how we create new habits, how we make people more happy, and then transform processes. That's the way, I mean, transforming into value. But definitely, I mean, what I love, what I really love is like mixing neurosciences, how we mix neuroscience and motivation within people, groups of people with technology, and then comes to people-centered AI. We have some very, very nice frameworks. Not just thinking about AI, it's people-centered AI. And the other thing that I'm always, I mean, a big fan is like design where you can use anthropologists, psychologists into the field. So when you merge all of that, you can really create new value and think about the new next generation of solutions and technology, because there's a lot of things upcoming. I mean, like I'm not going to say that metaverse is not going to put a huge value in some point, but I guess it's a mix between the current technologies, the future technologies, but always driven by people. So that's the thing. That's why that kind of philosophies and sciences is really, I mean, exciting for me.
That's a comprehensive answer. Thanks, Alvaro. You mix the philosophy, technology, everything together to answer this question. Thank you. So, Alvaro, I know that you have worked with the prestigious mining companies, BHP, for example, or other companies in South America and Australia, and you know their culture. And you know that it's very difficult to encourage the executive managers or some making decision people uh, something in the mining industry or change any operation. When we are facing with the digitalization, we need to encourage them to help us and to support us to use this new science or technology in mining and having this revolution. What benefits have you seen in mining companies encouraging them to invest in digital transformation?
Well, definitely there are multiple benefits. We have been, as you mentioned, working with many customers. I mean, multinationals and local companies
Mhm.
abroad. So one of the things that you can feel and see is that when people touch this kind of, let's say, experiments using AI, they feel excited about it. So that if you manage that well, you create some cultural, let's say, squads that can create more and more um, willingness to open and change the processes. So that's one of the things that we have been observing. It helps to make people excited about their work. Other things that we have been, I mean, definitely looking for and looking at, and it's amazing, but it's not easy to get. Is monetizing
Mhm.
definitely. Is the way you plan, you seed, and then you execute, and you get some good results. So to look for some quick let's say, the quick wins, and then you have for more long-term advances, is something that the company could really see, but depending on or their digital maturity, they can move faster or not. But I guess there are some, let's say, monetizing is something that is possible. It's not as easy as people want it, but it's really possible. We have been seeing that in our different projects, and help in the cultural manner the way embrace the future.
Yeah. So my experience also show that, talking about digitalization, or as you mentioned, is a culture. This revolution is a culture revolution, and it has a lot of requirements that we need to provide to have this type of the change. But unfortunately, the mining companies looking for quick wins, and they think, okay, uh, have one application and show us the result in 2 months or 3 months. But in some cases, it's not a good view. We need to invest in this area because some of the projects need to provide many materials, and also since we are walking on the edge of the knowledge, we need to involve some researchers or experts in this area. It means that we need time to have this revolution as a robust and sustained revolution, not just for having this technology for 1 year or 2 years. That's it. So, but everything is related to trust. I believe that we need to make this trust first, and then we can invest more and more in this area. Alvaro, you talk about the current situation that we have in digital transformation, and you mentioned technology is growing very fast, and using AI or many other tools is improving during the time. But what are you most excited about the future of digitalization or in mining?
Yeah, I think that even though AI is a space that we have been like building since last 20, 30 years, right now we have I mean, we all know that there's computing capabilities that are amazing and growing. So uh, you can see that's a very open future. And if you think from now, and you think, I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, a mine manager doesn't know about AI. And right now, they are more willing to say, okay, I want to try something, or the management are saying that we have to do something about it and experiment something. So I think that we're still in a very new beginning.
Mhm.
We have a lot of hype around, a lot of people talking about this kind of things around applying AI, but we are in the beginning, so there's an open future. Um, and as you mentioned, definitely there are challenges because you have to manage very well how your stakeholders are moving. You have to profile what is the maturity, I mean, cultural and digital maturity of the companies, and then
Mhm.
manage how to sustain value, because you can do an experiment that goes well, but who sustain that? Or how you design for people to get connected into sustaining that results and integrate it into the process. So I think that that kind of challenges are really things that are I mean, personally, most excited about, because there's a lot of huge value around that.
Yeah, I believe that, and you're pioneer in this area. I was following your project and your studies, and I believe that your company and your attitude is necessary for the future of mining. But you talk about some challenges. I want to finish my question with challenges, and could be my last question, because all the benefits that we know about digitalization is just one side of the coin. But in another side, we are facing with some, I don't say problem or issue, it's just challenge. But what challenges are mining companies facing using digital solutions? And if I want to return to the title of the conversation, how can people help to tackle these challenges?
Yes, indeed. I think we mentioned some of these challenges, but um, first one is like how we can create value in a short term to demonstrate that this is possible. This statement is 5 years ago from now, because you can see that now people are more willing to do this kind of experiment, but the core problem is still there. It's still the same. It's about how we convince a big sponsor and also champion to stay in the project and to deliver the value that we want. Process, you're going to face people that are reluctant
Mm-hmm.
that we are putting some technology or AI there. So that's one second point. I mean, like managing changes and all that cultural requires that you will face. And definitely from the technology perspective, you have to support this, like cloud on site. I mean, like how stable the solution is going to be, how the AI team plus the IT team from the mining side should manage to adapt to make it sustainable, robust in the time. So it's like building, I mean, let's say from MVP 1, MVP 2, MVP 3, and really prepare for the future. I mean, enabled by AI. So how can people help there is critical, because as we mentioned of the first time of this conversation is, what's the vision that we will embed in the future in our company? It's going to be ethical decisions around sustainable mining. I mean, taking the right decisions, and the AI is going to help us to make that sustainable decisions with lower emissions, using less water, and have a bigger outcome. If we have that vision, probably you have a better purpose, and people will enable that. So that's a very core for them to build the second layer to, I mean, for AI to enable that. So it's that kind of things, I guess, is part of the big challenges that we have ahead.
Beautiful, beautiful. So thank you so much, Alvaro. I really enjoyed this conversation, and you mentioned many key points that's necessary to get familiar with them before talking about mining 4.0 or digital transformation, specifically in mining. At the end of this interview, I need to thank the guest of this episode, Alvaro Diaz, and also our technical manager Milad Fulargan, and all the participants in the live session. The recorded version of this program will be available on our YouTube channel and other visual pages on different social platforms. Thanks to all of you, and I hope you have benefited from the discussed topics and hope to see you again at the following events. Alvaro?
Thanks you, Ali, again for the invitation. It was amazing to talk with you. I mean, definitely this is an amazing space to share and grow. And so hope to see you soon. And thanks for all the session.
Thank you so much, Alvaro. Thanks.
Talk soon. Bye bye.